So Pakistan versus New Zealand, another tour to New Zealand for Pakistan. The last time they played in New Zealand, they lost the Test series 2-0. And in 2018, they had some success in the shorter format because they won that series 2-1. But a lot of excitement is gathered here in Pakistan because it's always fun to be playing in New Zealand. The conditions are quite exciting for the bowlers and definitely tougher, much tougher for the batsmen. So I've got with me Grant, Elliot. Grant, I'm so glad that you could join us once again. I'm sure, a lot of people in Pakistan saw you during the PSL as well. You followed a lot of the games closely. You watched the exciting talent coming out of Pakistan. So great to have you back. How have you been?
I've been good. Unfortunately, couldn't come back for the end of the PSL, but looking forward to the next one, obviously. And had a good time in Pakistan. Was based in Karachi for my time there. As you know, in the studio, we did some hard hours in the studio there, trying to entertain the fans and keep them engaged with the PSL. But now we're turning our eyes towards, obviously, West Indies now, but Pakistan are in town. So, and out of isolation as well, which is great. So spoke to Azhar Ali the other day, and he was very happy to be out of isolation, obviously. It's tough for the players, but will be an exciting series. It will be. They're a good team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember our drills during the studio time as well, where we were having lots of Nando's. I mean, I think we could become the honorary ambassador for Nando's, considering the amount of Nando's we actually had during that tournament. But it was great having you, and it's great to reconnect once again. A tour of New Zealand is always very tough for any subcontinental team, precisely because the conditions are so tough for the batsmen, but it's also a great opportunity for the bowlers to come through. I mean, but you look at New Zealand's recent performance, Kane Williamson with that double ton once again. I mean, does he really not get tired of scoring runs?
That was an amazing innings because I'll tell you what, that pitch was green. There was a lot of talk about the pitch before they went out. New Zealand lost the toss, and Kane, he batted exceptionally well. He just bats at a tempo that it looks like he can bat for 5 days non-stop. He doesn't change his game plan. He played his first pull shot after something like 279 balls. So he's so good at assessing the conditions, and the conditions are not easy in New Zealand. So as you said, it's probably bowler friendly. If you're a seam bowler. If you're a spin bowler, it's not very friendly, the conditions here. It doesn't turn. The bounce is generally pretty consistent, probably a lot bouncier than Pakistan would experience. But from what I hear, like Pakistan wickets can be green, so they'll be able to cope with the seam. But in terms of the bounce and seam, that's yet to be seen. And I think they did well in the T20s when they were here last time. New Zealand's T20 team, I feel, has always been looking for the right combinations. We've got the likes of Colin Munro, who's playing in the Big Bash at the moment, and Adam Milne. So he won't be playing. So they've always been searching for the right combination. But their test team is settled. Like, that team is a really tough team to play against in our home conditions.
But, when you look at the New Zealand's test team, apart from the ferocious bowling attack that they've also got, they've now had some stability in the top order. I mean, you look at Tom Latham, for example, he scored 86 in that previous test. He's also got 250s this year. Do you think he's added a much needed stability in that squad?
Well, he's in the world top 10 test rankings now. So, he's a consistent performer, and you've had the likes of Henry Nicholls in the middle, who's consistent. Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson provide that glue at 3 and 4. So I guess New Zealand are playing around a little bit with the top order. Had Tom Blundell, who scored 100 at Boxing Day Test match, but he dropped down the order because BJ Watling was injured, and that gave the opportunity to Will Young. Now, it looks like this test match against West Indies, BJ Watling comes back, so Tom Blunder will go up to the top. However, Kane Williamson's partner is expecting a child, so he might go on paternity leave. So it's yet to be seen whether he'll be playing in the test match or not, which will give rise to someone called Devon Conway, who has performed really well. He played in the T20s, and he's shown his class at international level. So, yeah, there's plenty of exciting players that are around that New Zealand squad. Kyle Jameson's someone that really has impressed me from the bowling unit. And you've got the consistency of obviously Southey and Bolt. So, and Wagner. Wagner's gone to number 2 in the world. So, they really have a settled team, an experienced team in the test team. T20s, however, I don't think it's as settled.
Speaking of Neil Wagner, I mean, you look at the pace attack of New Zealand, and everybody's always talking about Trent Bolt and Tim Southey, but then it's relentless because you have Neil Wagner in that squad as well, somebody who's really troubled Pakistan in the past. I mean, the fact that he gets that extra bounce, Grant, I mean, that's been one of his key weapons over the years. How difficult is it going to be for Pakistan to be coping with that?
I think the extra bounce of Jameson and Wagner, I think, will be interesting. Because I think that it's more the bounce coming to New Zealand for Pakistan that they're going to have to try and counter. They'll be, as I said, they're used to swing, they're used to seam in their conditions, but not the bounce. Generally, the wickets are a little bit skiddier, a little bit lower in Pakistan. So it'll be a good challenge for them. And I think, that's the thing with Test cricket is that when you go and you play away, to try and win an away game should be difficult. When you go to Australia, it's difficult. You go to India, it's difficult. Go to Pakistan, it's difficult to win away. I remember growing up, and I think South Africa won their first ever series in Pakistan or something, because it should be tough, going to those different conditions and trying to adapt your game. And only the best players in the world can. So, guys like Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, it's really exciting opportunity for them to perform in foreign conditions.
Well, there's been a lot of talk around quarantine as well. A lot of players from Pakistan tested positive, but finally they're out of isolation and they've got a chance to train. I mean, talk us through how difficult it is mentally and physically for a player to be dealing with these circumstances and then coming onto the field and giving in their 110%. I
think you've got a lot of time to reflect, so you have to realize why you are here, and you give up a lot to play international cricket, and play for whether it's your family or your fans or your country. So it probably does give you a little bit more clarity as to why you're there. But yeah, it's not easy, being in a hotel room, not getting that sort of same exercise and those endorphins that you get from playing sports and being in the sun the whole day. And I think, mentally it's quite tough. But I think, if you manage it well, as we saw with Argentina versus the All Blacks in rugby, they managed their quarantine well, and they kept their team spirit up, whether it was through virtual meetings, whether it was through sending videos to your coaches as to, this is what I'm working on. And you can have a lot of those discussions. But I mean, as soon as you get out of quarantine, that's when the excitement starts. You should have done a lot of work before you got to New Zealand. And just because you miss out on, 2 weeks of training, not necessarily fitness, because I know the players have been doing fitness in their rooms. But yeah, the technical side, the batting and bowling, it shouldn't really faze you. I think professional players can switch on and off. And it's more sort of, I guess, adapting to the conditions. Maybe you miss out on that small window of adapting to the conditions.
Now, you've followed a lot of the Pakistan players during the PSL, and you were following them quite closely as well. So, I mean, is there anyone who's really impressed you out there who you think is going to be, one of the key players to watch in this series?
I think I'm really excited. If New Zealand prepare green wickets, bowler-friendly wickets like they have with the West Indies, I'm really excited to see the likes of Naseem Shah, Mohammad Abbas, and Shaheen Shah Afridi. I think that they'll be quite exciting on, bowling wickets. Obviously, Babar Azam, world class. And then someone that has really excited me in the T20s would probably be Haider Ali. I thought he was an exciting young player. He's obviously inexperienced, but he plays a very exciting brand, and I think he's got a lot of potential, as has Haris Rauf. So Pakistan always produce fast bowlers. I'd love to know how we can do that in New Zealand. Just send a shipment of bowlers over to Pakistan.
You've got your share of fast bowlers as well, Grant.
We don't produce like 150 k's an hour. We've got Lockie Ferguson. He's really exciting, but Pakistan just seems to produce fast bowlers at ease.
Well, it helps to have idol like Wasim Akram and Waqar Yunus for all the youngsters here to look up to. But speaking of Babar Azam, I mean, I know that he's somebody who's really made his mark around the world globally with his performances. The last time he played in New Zealand in the test, he actually scored a 90 odd as well. So how do you? There's a lot of debate around where he actually stands at this point of time when you compare him to the rest of the batsmen. I mean, how do you rate him? Is he somebody who you think is in the top 4, top 5 batsmen of the world?
I think he's so nice to watch. He's like really easy on the eye. He's got a very classic style. And his record is stacking up with, some of the best in the world. But he's also very lucky to have someone like Azhar Ali, I think Azhar Ali he brings a lot of experience, and, he showed some real character in that UK trip. He was under pressure and then came out and performed. And he really sets the standard. So, I think the pair of them, I see them as the leaders in the team. I see them as the most experienced batters. And Baba's obviously, I don't think you just get accolades by yourself in cricket. Like, it does take your teammates to support you and help you through to get to that pedestal that, whether it's one of the best in the world. So they do have the likes of Azhar to feed off. But yeah, Baba certainly stand out when it comes to that. He's a classic batsman, and you almost hope he gets 100 in a way, because you wouldn't mind watching him, even as a New Zealand.
Yeah, definitely 100 in New Zealand would be special, because we've seen what he can do generally with the bat as well. So in terms of the T20 team of Pakistan, I mean, it's a format where Pakistan has done considerably better than the Test. So the shorter format seems to suit them. They've recently drawn a series against England as well. And Mohammad Hafiz seems to be in brilliant touch because he's been scoring a lot of runs. So when you talk about the chances of how teams have fared, Pakistan in this particular format, you think they probably have a better chance to be winning?
I think so. I mean, I think the PSL's made a big difference. I think the PSL's a really good formats, good competition. You have a number of professionals that come over. I think that's really helped the skill level of the T20 players. But naturally, Pakistan batsmen are aggressive. I think they are aggressive batsmen. So I think it's a format that actually suits the nature of the Pakistan players. Exciting, fast bowlers, you've got spinners, and you've got hard-hitting batsmen. So I think if you reckon with, if you get your balance right, I think always going to be a tough team to beat.
Well, Glenn Phillips recently scored 108 in 51 balls in the T20s. Um, with the smaller grounds and the conditions that you have, is it becoming increasingly difficult for bowlers? And how should Pakistan go about their business when you have such conditions? And what kind of conditions should they be expecting? I mean, that's the first question actually for the T20s.
T20s generally you just get really good conditions, like good wickets. Eden Park was very bouncy though. It was almost like trampoline bounce when they played West Indies recently. So I think, trying to get used to that bounce, as I said, will probably be key. But generally the wickets are very good, nice pace on them, no spin. And that probably contributes to everyone saying, oh, the grounds are a lot smaller. They're not a lot smaller. Eden Park is straight, but that would be the only ground that's really like a lot smaller than the others. So yeah, I think it's more that steepling bounce, getting used to that, but it'll suit the bowlers. The bowlers will, however, have to get the ball a little bit fuller than they do in Pakistan.
That's obviously something that Pakistan can take note of, the length that they should be bowling in these particular conditions. But Pakistan is also very spin heavy in their squad. Now they have Usman Qadir, who's another spin bowling option for them. Shadab is part of that squad. He was the man of the match in the last T20 that Pakistan played in New Zealand. So I mean, they've got their spin options, but is spin really an option in New Zealand? I mean, in T20s, do you think they should be going with that kind of combination?
Well, New Zealand haven't gone with that combination in the last test. They played 5 seamers. In T20, spin is always a great option. However, it depends on the ground. Yeah, they just don't get the purchase that they normally get. There's not a lot of turn. I think leg spinner would be a better option than, just your finger spinners. Someone like Sat does well, varying his pace and his flight and his line. You just have to be a little bit smarter. You can't just bowl it and let the surface do the talking. You actually have to be a lot smarter the way you go about it. So whichever spinner does play, I don't think you'll see 2 spinners playing in a test match, for example. That would be a really gutsy move. Perhaps in a T20, maybe. But I'm generally a fan of just the 1 spinner.
Yeah, that's perhaps what we're going to be seeing as well. So speaking of the pace attack, you've seen Naseem Shah, the way he was bowling, Shaheen Shah as well. I mean, what has really impressed you about these 2 young boys?
Just pace. I think Naseem Shah, he's obviously had experience in Australia now. His rise to sort of fame has been pretty rapid. A little bit similar to Haris Rauf, I guess. But I think Shaheen Shah Afridi, the way that he's matured as a bowler in terms of I sort of felt that when I watched him at under 19 level, he just used to sort of like bang it in. Now he's, swings it. He's a lot smarter. He's got craft. He's got skill, and he's got pace. He's got stronger. He's a lot more experienced in his approach. So I think he's going to be really exciting to watch in these conditions if he's bowling well.
So parting thoughts, Grant. I mean, if I were to ask you to give me some predictions for both the Test series and T20s, go on, have a go.
I think the Test series, New Zealand. I think the T20s might be a bit closer. So I'll make a prediction on that one. I'll just say I think it's going to be closer. But ultimately, I think New Zealand are very difficult to beat in these conditions. I hope just for the game of cricket that it's 1-1. Test series, New Zealand. T20 series, Pakistan. We always like to be nice to our hosts, so that they enjoy their time.
Because you're half Pakistani by now. So you were a local by the end of PSL.
That is true. But no, it's going to be exciting cricket, and I'm looking forward to the series and looking forward to chatting to you about it during the time here.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your thoughts, Grant. It's been a pleasure speaking to you as always. And yeah, let's hope for a good series. It's always fun when Pakistan tours New Zealand. So let's hope for a good one.